My name is Lisa Machado. I teach 7th graders language arts and world history. And the lesson you're going to see today is a lesson template that I put together to help my students review some of the critical reading skills that our new Common Core standards want us to develop in students. It would work for a science classroom, a foreign language classroom, a chemistry classroom. It would work in a math classroom. It would work in any classroom where you want to have kids be in the driver's seat, in charge of their own learning, collaborating, and using academic language to explain concepts that they've learned. When I begin my lesson, I like to start with a clarification of my expectations and a brief review of the materials the kids will be using. Okay, so would you please tell me, do you think you can analyze for tone or mood, and to what degree? Show me. Excellent. So after I go over the language objectives and content objectives and review the materials students will be using, I then send them into the reading task. This is done independently. And again, you want to have a one-page wonder for this. You don't want it to be a long article. You want it to be a powerful, short read that is rigorous and is engaging for students. We want them to make meaning and sense of what they're reading on their own. And I ask them to do this by annotating as they read. Fine. So for the next 5 minutes, I know it's not very much time. If you need more, I'll ask you, but let's go with 5. Please carefully read independently and annotate as you do. Today you'll see us using a set list of symbols so that they can use that to facilitate their individual group tasks. So for example, they'll put stars next to ideas and concepts that they feel are very significant and important. And they'll put hearts next to ideas, words, phrases that may be words that carry a loaded message, show bias, or that make them feel a strong emotion or feeling. That will help them determine what the author's mood or author's tone is in the article. So Nancy, explain. Would you just paraphrase briefly? When are we going to put a heart on our paper?
When we feel any kind of emotion, whether it's anger, sadness, happiness, we would put a heart to indicate that we felt something.
Very good. After I've gone over the annotations and the kids have had a chance to read and annotate their article, at that time you send them immediately to their group task area. I call them the 4 corners. And so I simplify this by color coding. It saves a lot of time talking. I just use different colored paper, and I have that colored paper in the corner, and they know that they go to the corner that matches what they have. In that corner, they'll see their task. They will work together. They get 1 pen. They read the task, and they discuss what it is they were supposed to write about and teach the rest of the kids about. For example, if their job was to find the author's central message, they'll discuss what they think the central message is and the evidence, the textual evidence that supports that. When they have a group consensus, they take turns using the 1 marker and write that information down.
Okay, we thought it was biased because they're only focusing on the harmful video games, but there could be good ones that are good for you, like sport video games.
Educational. So you're seeing an author's point of view that seems to show towards a negative or positive bias?
Biased against.
A negative bias. In this corner, this activity is called jigsaw by some people because it represents a puzzle. Each group is one piece of the puzzle, and when they finish their task, you've put together a puzzle in its entirety. So each group takes on one facet of the learning objective, and at the end, every group benefits from the entire product. I have told my students that as they finish at an activity, if it's not time to move to the next station yet, they can reflect on their learning and start to fill in their exit ticket. So although it is called an exit ticket, the task is a reflective tool. And this reflective tool is for them to reflect all along the way in their learning through today's activities. There are 5 different stations and they can reflect at each station. And should they have some downtime with nothing to do, they should be writing on their reflective tool. And this is actually something they enjoy doing. So you will see students writing on their gold paper. That half-sheet gold paper is what I use for their exit ticket. And you'll see that some groups are doing that while other groups are doing other things. And this is a way for students to keep track of their thoughts and their ideas. And they don't balk at this at all. It seems to be something that I've incorporated that they enjoy doing. rotate. Once they finish their task in their expert group, the second thing you'll see us have the kids do is a rotation from group to group. I call this, and it's called this by others, carousel. So I set the time limit purposefully to be pretty short. They need more time to do their task, but they need less time to be on task and focused so that they read the comments of their peers and they provide appropriate feedback. You don't want this time to be too lengthy or you get off task behavior. So text graffiti is when you have students write like graffiti on a text. And when they're writing on top of their peers' text, that's called text-on-text graffiti. Kids love this. They love to write all over each other's work. Normally, we would be very upset if somebody wrote on top of our work. In fact, the kids, when they get back to their original posters, don't like it very much. But as long as the feedback is intended to be purposeful and helpful, that is the goal of this activity, and it ups the engagement level for students. And skipping chores, that's negative. Yeah. So you can like really emphasize those things. Do you have any feedback for this group? Do you think they did a good job?
Yeah, I think they did pretty good.
And then you ring the bell and they go to the next corner and they do the same thing again. You'll find that as they go around the room, they have more to read because they're reading the other students' text-on-text graffiti. After they have jigsawed and carouseled around the entire room, they will end back up at their own expert group corner. And this is really the telling piece of the lesson. This is where we bring the learning to a full close. They get to see what everybody else in the room thinks of the tasks they've performed. They get to read the feedback. I always remind them to take it with a grain of salt, but that in every piece of feedback we get, somebody had a reason for writing it. So at the end of the cycle of these activities, students like to have an opportunity to wrap it all up and to say what their final takeaway was. So I asked them to select or volunteer in their group to be the spokesperson for their group. And so one person will stay behind. Sometimes two people stay behind if they want to have a friend with them. And I asked them to just briefly tell us what their group learned from the feedback left behind by the other students. And at this time, they get to reflect on the text-on-text graffiti activity. They get to reflect on the learning goal itself. And they get to articulate their takeaway from the lesson.
We didn't have a very challenging time finding them together. We had pretty good teamwork and we communicated well. We didn't get that many positive ones because we felt that the author was biased against video games, like he explained them only in a negative way instead of the ones that can be educational.
Again, this is part of the interpreting the evidence, and it also provides the teacher and the students with actionable feedback so that when we think about what are the skills that we feel solid about and what are the skills that we need to work further on, by having them articulate this, it gives me the information I need for planning for future lessons. So when we think about the formative assessment process, this entire lesson is designed with the 4 concepts in mind. I start by clarifying the lesson objective. The whole lesson is involved with gathering evidence, and then I interpret that evidence, and so do the students. I interpret the evidence as I'm watching the students work. I go and give them just-in-time feedback as I see they need it. At the very end of the day, when I read their exit tickets, I can again ascertain if there's more that I need to do to build in that knowledge, and I can plan my next day's lesson that way. The students give each other feedback, and they interpret the evidence of their peers. So everyone's engaged in the interpreting of the evidence, and it builds knowledge on many, many levels. That's the power of this lesson. It's not giving information from one person, the teacher, to the students. It's involving everybody in the role of playing the part of a teacher and a student in the classroom simultaneously.